This video is brought to you by a huge mountain of drugs. Liesa, Shroud of Dusk versus partners Sylvia, Brightspear and Khorvath, Brightflame versus Rick, Steadfast Leader and Depala, Pilot Exemplar. Get ready to press the thumbs down button on this video, because we have a Walking Dead commander at the table. Boo-hoo. That is not an incredible opening hand, but we've got lands, so... yeah, I'm going to take the free mulligan on this one. I want ramp and some kind of card draw, something like that preferably. Blind Obedience is good to get down early. Should allow us to stay in play long enough to actually draw into some stuff. A turn 1 play from Depala in Wayfarer's Bauble. And then Jero gets down a turn 1 play as well with the Mother of Runes. Okay, we make a decent draw there in Cabal, Console of Allocation. I think we can just go for the tap land in Isolated Chapel, and we're likely going for Blind Obedience next turn. And the Wayfarer's Bauble being cracked by Home Doggy and getting into a land, of course. Mother of Runes can now swing in during Jero's turn, goes in towards Drug Mountain after casting a Sword of the Animist. And then Drug Mountain casting a Prismatic Lens before passing the turn back over to us. I think with a mono white player and a couple of Boros players, we're actually going to have them struggle with their mana rocks, assuming that they're relying on rocks to ramp, which you would assume they are. A Mangara getting some good draws here. Let's get down this Blind Obedience like we said previously. Then during the upkeep, Home going for an Enlightened Tutor. And went for the land tax, so maybe not relying too much on rocks for ramping there, although land tax isn't ramp, it just allows you to make lands every turn. And then getting into Undo Sky Ruins, and that comes into play tapped. But there is a mana rock over here in Mana Crypt, so that comes into play tapped, potentially hurting the mono white player there. Might have been able to get down Rick this turn. That was maybe what they were hoping for at least. But we'll still be able to get a land out with Mother of Runes, so equipping the sword onto there, and this will probably come in at us. Yep, because we did have their Mana Crypt come into play tapped. And then the first commander of the game coming down now, Sylvia, Brightspear. Okay, and continuing to make decent draws off the top. Luris is in here so that we can get the Soul Sisters back into play after board wipes and stuff like that. I think we're going for Cabal here. So we'll throw that down, not going to be able to pay the extort cost on that. And now another commander in Depala, Pilot Exemplar coming into play. Rick and Jero getting bolted by the Mana Crypt, and now playing a Rogue's Passage. Then going in for the Steadfast Leader. And then Mother of Runes spreading the damage around, this time going through to the Dwarf player. And then at the end of the turn, the Sword of the Animist going on to Rick, Steadfast Leader. And it's Jessica's Will from the Boros player now. Not sure... Oh, they control their commander, so they can do both there. Adding 5 mana to their mana pool. And then they'll exile the top 3 cards and be able to play them. That is a Wheel of Fortune, a Prismatic Vista, and a Scourge of Valkus, which will have double strike whilst their white commander is in play. So going for the Scourge. I'd rather not have seen the Wheel of Fortune there. So that's good that that is gone. Dealing the damage to the Mother of Runes, which I think is a good idea. Argument to be made for the Cabal, because that damage from that does mount up over time, but Mother of Runes is just really good to get rid of while you can. And then Prismatic Vista also being played and cracked. And then another Sword of the Animist coming down. That is a good ramp spell for anyone that can't easily get into additional lands throughout the game and doesn't want to rely too much on mana rocks, which is obviously why they're playing it. A Command Tower. I'm assuming we're going to play this as a black land, but just in case we need some additional mana of a different colour, I'm going to just go for the Command Tower now. So I think we're just holding back the Cabal here, and we'll go for the Mangara. Mangara should be quite good against the White Weenies player in particular. A bunch of lands being searched for via the land tax over here. And then it is Stoic Farmer When it enters the battlefield, search for a basic plains. If an opponent controls more lands than you, put it onto the battlefield tapped. And then Depala swinging in now, going to pay. And then Depala swinging in towards Jero. And they put 2 into X there, so revealing. Yeah, that was just a couple of lands there. So I think they go on the bottom, don't they? Yeah, they can only get vehicles and dwarves via that, so these are now on the bottom. Nyx Lotus being played now by the mono white player. 3 cards left in hand and plenty of mana. Another one coming down from the Boros Dragon player, Nesting Dragon this time. And that triggers the Scourge of Valkus. I don't think there's any creatures that they can take out here for only 2 damage though, so it might just go directly at a player. I think they can do that. Yeah, it's X damage to any target, and I'm not sure where that went. Oh, it went on the Mangara. Okay, and then going for a land, which makes another dragon, so being able to get rid of the Mangara there. And then turning sideways, leaving the dragon back, but going in towards, I think that was in at Home Doggy with the silver. Yeah, Home Doggy being dealt 4 damage by Sylvia. And that is Athreos, God of Passage. I'm thinking we go in for our commander here. I'm not too sure that either of the other 2 players are going to go for a board wipe here because they've just got their commanders into play. So let's go for the Liesa. Home Doggy going for a load more lands with the land tax there. So 11 cards in hand now. And for every spell that is cast, our opponent is going to lose 2 life. And if it's a non-creature spell, they'll lose 2 more to Kambal, so losing 4, thanks to the Mystic Forge being cast over here. And then deciding against swinging in, just passing the turn over with 9 cards in hand and 3 mana held up. Though it looks as though Rick is going to do something at the end of the turn, that is making a white token with Casson of Ardenvale. Didn't actually look at what abilities were chosen when this came down. It is First Strike and Lifelink on the human tokens. So that is a 1-1 with First Strike and Lifelink. We'll see if he can get into a couple more humans this turn. Well, he's 2 cards in hand and has gone for a Skull Clamp, so we'll get drained for 4. And yeah, don't think he's going to have the best of luck keeping humans in play if he's going to be Skull Clamping them, but needs must. Then a Wooded Foothills being cracked in response by Drug Mountain. And when the dragon token came in from the fetch being cracked, it put some damage onto the token, so it couldn't be skull clamped. So now the clamp going onto Rick's Steadfast. And that is a Cathar's Crusade. That's a scary one. Luckily, we're not seeing too many creatures yet. I think we all want to see the back of this Scourge of Valkus though. And guess what? Yet another dragon in Scale Lord Reckoner from the Boros Dragon player. When a dragon you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, destroy a non-land permanent they control. And that means that it is 5 damage that can go on something, so that's probably Liesa, I would think. And there we are. And then playing a land, that is Field of Ruin, so that will trigger the Scourge of Valkus again, thanks to the Nesting Dragon. Yeah, that's a very good combination of cards, those 2. Don't think I've ever seen these 2 in tandem before. Then the damage is being pointed at this commander, and in response, Chaos Warp going onto the Cathar's Crusade. Doesn't look like he flipped into anything there. I think I would have gone for the Scourge of Valkus, personally, because it's controlling the entire board very nicely. Cathar's Crusade is one to worry about, but not when there's hardly any cards in hand, or creatures in play. Anyway, the Sylvia going in towards Home Doggy, that is a 3-3 with double strike. And then we're definitely getting the Scourge of Valkus, but I can't see where this is going yet. A land comes down from the Sword of the Animus, so even more Scourge of Valkus triggers. And that went at Jero, I think. Yeah, the 5-4 flyer is going in at Jero as well. So that sends us down to 44, 22 Home Doggy is at, and that is 10 commander damage from Sylvia. And then Jero's gone all the way down to 3. Oh, and a Toxic Deluge, that is a hell of a top deck. Yeah, I think we have to go for that here. Maybe we do it next turn. We're at a high life total, we can allow the dragon player to take home's life total down even further. Maybe take care of Jero. So I think we go for Athreos here. And we will pay for the extort here. And home just seems to be thinning the deck out of basics because... Yep, he's going for the 3 basics again. I imagine the vast majority of his hand is just basics here. But he can play things off the top with the Mystic Forge if he's lucky enough. A Sky Sovereign console flagship. And that will drain him for 2 with the Cabal. And when that comes into play, it can deal 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, so it gets rid of the Sylvia to remove double strike from all of the dragons over here. Dwarven Recruiter. When it enters the battlefield, search for any number of dwarves, shuffle your library and put them on top in any order. So far has searched up Ether Shield Artificer, Gearshift Ace, Magda Brazen Outlaw, Duergar Mine Captain, Duergar Hedgemage, the Veteran Motorist, Renegade Wheelsmith, and Runeforge Champion, and then deciding to leave it there. 7 cards still in hand, but as I've said, I think most of those are lands. Then at the end of home's turn, another human being made over here. Thankfully the Cathar's Crusade has gone, so no plus counters going on there, and we'll see if he gets bolted by the Mana Crypt. Yep, goes down to the Mana Crypt. Jero getting pretty unlucky during that game. Was only down to 1 card in hand, but there's big flying double striking dragons in play, so that's enough to take anyone out pretty quickly. We've already seen the back of the, of the Wheel of Fortune here, so I'm hoping that we don't see a wheel here to get rid of our Toxic Deluge. Sylvia Brightspear coming in again, and they did scry 1 with Path of Ancestry there. So I think they'll be able to get rid of the dwarf player here, thanks to all of these dragons. So let's see if he decides to take out a player or spread the damage around. Yep, just deciding to spread the damage around. We are taking 10 and 18. 8 going over to Home Doggy. And then playing a land, which makes yet another Dragon Egg. And that goes directly on Home Doggy, so that might be the plan here, is to... Oh no, I thought they might be able to get out another land there. The Sword of the Animist is not equipped, so... Yeah, maybe could have done that, but obviously wants to hold up the mana for something else. Maybe there's a generous gift or something like that. Alright, there's a land for us. I think we are just going Toxic Deluge here, because it's about time that this Scourge Dragon went down. So we'll put 4 life into that, and we've got 3 mana held up. I don't think... Yeah, we could just go for Viscopa Guildmage just for the sake of having something in place, so we'll pay the extort here. Yep, and that's what he's holding up, Teferi's Protection. So we'll get drained at least by the Cabal. But yeah, we need to be getting into another board wipe at this point, really. So all we managed to do there is get rid of the Dwarves. And we get rid of our own Cabal as well. We end up getting the Cabal back into hand, so maybe shouldn't have extorted there, but would we have got the Cabal back had we have extorted, or not extorted? Yeah, anyway, we'll go for Viscopa Guildmage. Ether Shield Artificer coming down for the Dwarf player. And then Depala coming back into play again. They are still coming into play tapped, thanks to our Blind Obedience. So all the dragons have survived here, and I wonder if he can one-shot all of us here. Yeah, the Heraldic Banner will switch on the Dragon Eggs that do not have flying, I assume. Oh, and they have Defender anyway, so they can't swing in. The Sword of the Animist going onto the Sylvia this time. Okay, and it seems as though going for us first. So what's that? 10, 22, and 30. So that is exactly enough to take us out here, I think. And then that will be enough to take out Home Doggy. So, yeah, you don't wipe the board when a load of dragons are in play. And that's what happens, apparently. Anyway, a land came into play with the Sword of the Animist. And that made a Dragon Egg. And that hit us for a bunch of damage as well. So they had exactly enough on us anyway, but definitely enough with the Sword of the Animist trigger. So that's that. Just a total lack of removal and ramp for us. Didn't really have much card draw. We did get into good cards off the top, but didn't really get into much of anything after that. So hopefully you all enjoyed it anyway. That was a good showing from Drug Mountain. Big thank you to my opponents for playing with me today. They are patrons of the channel. You can become a patron of the channel as well by following the link in the description below. Big thank you to you if you decide to do that. I'm tribalkai on the eedi-H channel. Thank you for watching.